So, a very good morning. We will wait for 1 to 2 minutes and we will start our session. Yeah. Uh, so, uh, so we will discuss today regarding the dielectrics because in the previous week, I think you have a examination. Okay. So after this, we will discuss the liquid dielectrics. Okay, so today we will discuss about the some little bit classification and the properties of the solids and the liquid dielectrics, and as well as some permeability and the polarization effect in the solids and the liquid dielectrics. That means the permeability of insulating materials, okay, and the polarization, how the polarization and the permeability that will affect in the insulating material. Okay, so that thing we will discuss. Okay, so as we will already known, the permeability that will be defined as an epsilon. Okay, so the absolute for in the free space, the permeability will be taken into consideration for the epsilon zero in case of a vacuum. Okay, and the relative permeability we will consider as a epsilon r. Okay, so what should be the permeability for the insulating material, okay, as a medium of a vacuum? So that we will consider as an epsilon is equal to epsilon 0 epsilon r, like that. Okay, so we will discuss this thing today. Okay, so before discussing on the permeability and the polarization of a dielectrics, okay, the liquid dielectrics and as well as the solid dielectrics. Okay, so we will discuss little bit about the classification of a already I will discuss the classification of the solid insulating materials, like the moduling materials, jacketing materials, filling materials, insulating mechanical support, okay, and then the organic and the non-organic materials, right? So these things we will discussed, right? So today we will discuss in a composite insulating system how, and the non-composite dielectrics, how this particular we can develop the solid insulating material. So that thing we will discuss today, right? So there we'll have some the properties. Okay, the properties that will be very much important, that will commonly used for preparing a polymer, which will be very well known solid liquid dielectrics, the polymer compound for the electrical insulation purpose. So what will be the different importance for using the polymers compound having a use of a electrical insulation purpose, right? So that thing we will discuss today. So I will directly go to the share section so that you will able to see. So is my screen is visible? Yes. Okay, fine. So these things we will already discuss what are the different types of solid insulating materials. The five different type of solid insulating materials. That thing we will discuss in the previous lecture. Okay, so insulating. So we will discuss this thing today. The insulating mechanical support, right? So in form of a plates or the pipes or the insulating support that are required in the transformers, GIS, okay, circuit breakers and the isolation. So each and every components of an electrical equipments that will need the mechanical insulating support. Okay, why this is needed? For the better, we can say that for better working principle, okay, or better efficiency. Okay, so in case of a transformer we have a greater efficiency. If I acquired a greater efficiency, then we can then we have to require the mechanical support, a proper insulating mechanical support that is required for the transformer for the better insulation, for the better efficiency, and for the better the production of the voltages. Okay, so all the mechanical support, insulating mechanical support, not only in the transformer but also we can implement this mechanical support to the circuit breakers, the isolators, right? So the products that will such a press board, okay, hard paper, thin paper laminated. Hard paper means thin paper laminated. These are the insulating mechanical support that will be provided by using in the transformers. Okay, so these are the materials where we can use the mechanical support to a particular instrument, right? Wood, it is used for the transformer. In case of a wood, that means yellow tech, okay, yellow tech that is used in a transformer. The paper laminated that will use in isolators. Okay, so ebonite, that is also well known vulcanite, so that will be also been used in a used in a GIS or the circuit breakers like this. Okay, so this kind of sulfur, okay, the proportionate the figure of the sulfur, bakelite, a hard synthetic material, or the this such kind of insulating supporting materials that will be required for the existence of the equipments, and as well as the it will grow the efficiency of any such kind of electrical devices. So each and every electrical devices, it needs the insulating mechanical support for the better improvement, for the better efficiency, and for the better production rate. Okay, so that is why this insulating mechanical support is much needed for any such kind of electrical components or the electrical devices. Okay, so the insulating mechanical materials are which one? The press board, the hard papers, the woods. Woods are normally used in transformers, and the hard papers that will normally use in isolators, or we can say that it's a bushing. Okay, the press board that will also be used in a circuit breaker. Okay, ebonite, sulfur, bakelite, okay, hard synthetic materials, insulating materials that will be used in a both in a transformer, isolators, and as well as in a circuit breaker, right? So these are actually the different type of material that will be used in a for the insulation purpose, for the insulation purpose of a various electrical devices, right? So however we can also use the organic and the non-organic materials for insulating insulation purpose for the chemical composition. So because the inorganic and the non-inorganic material having a chemical composition, so depending upon the various chemical composition, we have to distinguish the materials in a such a way that we have defining this particular material in a two part. One is a inorganic, and the one is a organic materials. Okay, so among the inorganic materials, so what are the inorganic materials? So inorganic materials are, okay, so what are the inorganic materials that here which will be show? Okay, so what are the, I will show you. Yes. So, what are the inorganic materials in case of a inorganic materials and in case of a organic materials, right? So, in case of a inorganic materials, the ceramic, the glass, the fiberglass, okay, mica, these are the very important inorganic materials that will be used for the insulation purpose of any electrical devices, right? For the greater dielectrics, for the applications of the dielectrics in order to maintain the sequences. Okay, so there must have a different property of the material. So depending upon the different properties of the material, the dielectrics of a particular devices that will be depends. Okay, so in addition to that, this particular device having a higher chemical resistance, as because this we are considering the inorganic material, so they must have a chemical composition. So due to this chemical composition, in addition to this, say that we can also told that this particular material having a higher chemical resistance. Okay, so we can say that the practically the negligible sign of this particular materials, however it will be very difficult to machine or to process them. Okay, so all those supposed to be the ceramic, the glass, the fibers, so the construction or the productivity of this particular materials, it will be very much difficult. Okay, although it will be very much difficult, but still for the better insulation, for the better performance of a particular devices, obviously electrical devices, we are implementing such type of inorganic materials. Although the productivity of this inorganic materials is very much difficult, okay, in a process plant like that. Okay, so these materials are basically a inhomogeneous both in a microscopic as well as a macroscopic. Okay, so what are the inorganic materials that we will see in this particular content? We will see that the ceramic, the glass, the fiberglasses, mica, and many more inorganic compound that will be available in the inside in our market, and that will be used in our electrical devices for the better performances, for the better dielectrics, and for the better insulation. Okay, we are using the inorganic materials, although this inorganic the production of this inorganic materials is very much difficult. So that is why this particular materials are basically inhomogeneous in both the microscopically and the macroscopically. Okay, so in case of a and another one is a organic materials. Okay, in case of a solid organic materials that will be used in electrical engineering, the solid organic materials are what supposed to be the paper, wood, wax, leather, cotton. So all those things are under the solid organic materials. Okay, that will be used for the insulation and for the better performance of a any electrical devices which will be applicable in the electrical engineering, right? So beside this, there will be the n number of natural and the synthetic resins, rubbers, plastics. Okay, also known as a, so all those things are also been known as a, we can say that it's a polymer, right? It can be also been shown the organic materials that will be available inside the nature. Okay, so that will be also known as a polymer, supposed to be the synthetic, rubber, plastic, paper, woods, wax. So whatever the materials is, that will be also be known as a polymer. Okay, so wood that will be used for the insulation purpose of a transformers, right? So wood will be being the hypogenically, we can say that the wooden poles. Okay, so whenever we have to install the electrical poles, okay, in the street side, so normally rather than using the steel or any such kind of other material, we will normally use a wood, because wood having a very better insulation property. Okay, would have a better polymer. Okay, and would have a very good dielectrics. Okay, so that is why for the insulation purpose of the transformers, for the construction of a new pole, okay, near the roadside, we will normally use the wooden pole. Okay, so using this organic materials, because in most of the countries, if you will go to the northern america, you will see that the most of the poles are the wooden, right? So they are using this such kind of solid organic materials, okay, for the better insulation and the better performance of any such kind of electrical devices, or any such kind of device which will be applicable for the electrical engineering, right? So this type of polymer that can be obtained for the reaction of a compound. Okay, obviously this is the chemical composition. Okay, whether it should be the organic materials, so it must have included a chemical composition. So due to this particular chemical composition, the polymer, this type of polymer that will be obtained the reaction chain that will be there inside the particular material. Okay, so we can say that the chemical compound are known as a monomers. Okay, so whatever the compound that will be available in the polymer, the chemical compound which will be known as a monomers. Okay, so like this. Okay, monomers is a chemical compound which will be available in the polymers. So the example of the polymers is the rubbers, plastics. Okay, supposed to be the paper, oats. So all those things that will be may not be available, but few of the chemical compound that will be available in each and every polymers, each and every natural polymers, right? So there can be, it may happen there can be the mixture of the reaction, monomers. Okay, in the latter case, for the resulting material, that will calling as a copolymer. Okay, so it may happen that there will be the n number of composition inside the chemical reaction, okay, of a particular materials, chemical material. So it may happen there will be the n number of mixtures inside the reaction chain. So inside this reaction, so due to this particular reaction chain, we are getting the new materials which will be called as a copolymer. Okay, so this copolymer that also can be used as a dielectric, or also that will be used as a insulating material. Okay, as the polymer is using as a insulating material. So there will be the copolymer and the polymer, both materials, okay, both organic materials that will be used for the insulation purpose of a any such kind of electrical devices. Okay, so also we can use as a organic compounds, we can use the PVC, okay, polyvinyl chloride. We can also use the polypropylene, okay, polypropylene, polyamide. Okay, so these are the different or the thermoplastic polymers. Okay, thermoplastic polymer we also can use this thermoplastic polymers. The thermoplastic, and so the example of the thermoplastic polymer is PVC, okay, polyamide, okay, polyethylene, PE, like this, polypropylene, PPE, like this. So all those are inside the organic compound, or the organic materials which having a better reaction chain and having a better chemical compound, right? So due to the better chemical compound and better chemical reaction, the insulation property of such type of polymers, thermoplastic polymers, will be better than the normal polymers like a woods, like a papers, like that. So PVC is a very good organic materials. They have the PVC have a better insulation property. So normally in most of the cases we will normally use the PVC. So are you heard about the PVC pipe? So PVC pipe will be nothing but a thermoplastic polymer. Okay, so which will be used for the insulation purpose of a any such kind of electrical devices. Okay, so there will be the huge extension of this particular organic material. So we are discussing only the few supposed to be PV, okay, polyvinyl chloride, polypropylene, polyamide, polyethylene. So these are the few number of, so there will be the n number of thermoplastic polymers that will be available in the nature, and also that will available in the market. Okay, but these are the few important organic materials or the thermoplastic polymers that will be available in the market. Okay, and we are use this particular organic materials as a insulating material, right? So there will be there this particular organic materials having a greater applications in the industry. Okay, in order to the above mentioned sequence, the sequence is, so suppose normally we will first use the PVC, then we are using the polyethylene, then we are using the polypropylene and the polyamide. Depending upon the nature of the insulation, we are using the particular thermoplastic polymers, right? So that will depending upon the industry, that will vary the industry to industry. Okay, so there will be the huge application area of the organic materials, or we can say that the thermoplastic polymers, right? So such materials have a relative poor thermal resistance. So every organic materials have some advantages and have some disadvantages. So the disadvantages of this organic materials is that, so it have a relatively poor thermal resistance rather than my inorganic materials. Okay, and the property that will be deteriorated rapidly with a higher temperature. If we increase the temperature, so for that cases the PVC, that means thermoplastic polymers, we cannot use. Okay, for the higher temperature. Suppose the transformer having a greater temperature, so we cannot use the PVC. Then we can go to the inorganic materials, supposed to be ceramic, fiber, woods, like that. Okay, so I think there will be some internet disconnection. Is my screen is visible, Pooja?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So, so due to the power cut, we are disconnecting. Okay, so again we are connecting. So where we are? Yes, PVC. So if we are increasing the high temperature, so for that cases we cannot use the PVC like that. Okay, so for that cases we will use the inorganic. We will use the inorganic components or inorganic compounds. Okay, like a ceramic, glass. So glass have a greater higher temperature. So so if the temperature will be very much high, so for that cases we cannot use the thermoplastic polymers like this. Okay, we cannot use the organic materials. For that we have to go to the inorganic materials, right? So these are actually the some disadvantages for using the using the thermoplastic polymers, right? So now we can discuss about the this thing. Okay, these are the four six different properties that commonly used for preparing the polymer compound. So how could I prepare the polymer compound for the better insulation of electrical devices? Okay, so for production of a polymers, so what are the different factors that will needed? Okay, so that thing that we'll discuss in this thing. So the first thing is that means the field filters usually applied for modify the physical properties, mainly mechanical, of a polymer. So whenever we have to develop the one such kind of polymer, so you keep remind these things always, they should have a mechanical stress. Okay, so they should have a good physical properties. So that is why we are developing the polymers. Okay, so whenever we have to developing any such kind of polymers, we have to keep remind these things. We have a proper viscosity, that means melt viscosity, and also we need to change the physical properties, that means whether the polymer will be softness, that means the properties of the polymers that will be taken into consideration before developing the polymers. The properties that will be checked, either the polymers is to be the sharpness, or is the how much flexible of the polymer is to reuse this particular polymer. Okay, so whenever we have to, number three, whenever we have to develop the polymer, we keep reminding these things. Some chemical reaction that will be inside the polymer, it may happen that due to the some chemical reaction or the chemical chain reaction, some abrupt chemical reaction that will be taken into consideration, which will be known as a soluble covalent. Okay, that will be occurred inside the polymers, so that will be taken into consideration. Okay, number four is anti-allied additive of a prevent structural degradation due to the chemical reaction like oxidation. Yes. Okay, the oxidation. So due to this particular ozone attack, okay, dehydration, especially with the PVC, ultraviolet attack, sunlight. So all those parameter, okay, that will be taken into consideration when you are developing any such kind of polymers. Okay, so there must have a oxidation inside the reaction chain, there must have an ozone attack, there must have a ultraviolet attack due to the sunlight. Okay, so that all those parameters that will be taken into consideration for developing any such kind of polymer in the process plant. Okay, so these things you will have to taken into consideration when you have been developing, or when you have to produce any such kind of organic or the inorganic materials inside the process plant. So you keep, whenever you have to produce any organic materials, you keep remind these things. There must have some, due to the chemical reaction, there must have a flames. Okay, so to improve the degrees of fire resistance of a polymer, you need to check whether the flame, the velocity or the viscosity of the flame will be increasing depending upon the certain temperature or not. So whenever, again I told you, whenever you have to develop any such kind of polymer in the process plant, you need to check the degrees of the fire assistance, degrees of the fire resistance of the polymer. The degrees of the fire resistance of the polymer is needed because at a certain temperature, it may happen what the material you what which material you are using in the electrical device, it may happen it will be damaged due to the high temperature, and it will be fire on. Okay, so or it should be the flame on means it will be blasting, it may happen. Okay, so you need to check or need to check the degrees of the fire resistance of a polymer whenever you have to developing any such kind of organic devices or inorganic, sorry, organic compounds, or the in yes, both the cases, inorganic and the organic compound. And the number six is the cross-linked agent like to achieve to intermolecular combination. So it may happen, supposed to be inside the glass, it may happen there will be the collision of a intermolecules. Okay, so due to the collision of the intermolecules, so there will be the combination of the molecule that will attach inside the chemical reaction. So so due to this particular chain reaction, it may happen the chain reaction will be is obsolete. So to restrict this particular chain reaction, or to restrict this particular abrupt behavior of the reaction, we have to need to check all those parameters in a very carefully before preparing the any such kind of polymer in the process plant. So what are the things that will need it? One is, first of all, whether whatever the polymer you are producing, whether it should be mechanically supported, right? Number two, you need to check whether the various property of the polymer that will be affected or not. That means the softness, whether the polymer, whatever the polymer you are producing, whether it should be the flexible, or whether we can reuse or not. Okay, so all those, any such kind of supposed to be any such kind of external attack like oxidation, ozone attack, ultraviolet attack, that will be, whether that will appear inside the reaction chain or not, that thing will also been taken into consideration. The number fourth one is the degrees of the fire resistance. Okay, for the particular value of the test temperature, you have to check these things also. And there due to the cross linkage of a particular molecules, that means there will be some collision of the intermolecules, some abrupt behavior of the material, that will be you need to check. Okay, if some abrupt behavior will be observed during the reaction, okay, so you need to change, or you need to update your reaction chain in such a way so that we will implementing, or we can use this particular polymer in a electrical devices for a higher temperature, obviously. Because if the polymer, if we are using in a transformer, it may happen the transformer will be heated up. So okay, for the certain temperature, okay, the if we are using the wood at a certain temperature, it may happen the wood will be blast off. Okay, so there will be the damage of a your electrical devices. Okay, so all those parameters you need to check before implementing or before production of a organic materials, and as well as the inorganic materials inside inorganic materials inside the process plant. Okay, so there must have a two different type of insulating system we are also been implementing for the production of a organic and the inorganic materials. One is a composite insulating system, another one is a nano composite dielectrics. Okay, so these are the two different methods for the productivity of a such kind of dielectric materials, right? So okay, one second. I need to check. Uh, so, what the composite insulating system is? Okay, so composite insulating. So there will be the two other different methods that we can adopt it. One is a composite insulating system. Another one is a non-composite dielectric system. Right. So what is actually the composite insulating system? Here it will be written that some very high quality solid insulating system have been produced by combining different dielectric materials. So there in the nature or in the market we have a different dielectrics material. So different dielectrics material that will be used for the production of a very high quality solid insulating system. Okay, so for that cases the common composite of a organic, so both the organic and the inorganic materials that will be used for the production of a composite insulating system, or the better composite insulating system. So both the materials we can use, the organic and as well as the inorganic materials, supposed to be the fiberglass reinforcement plastic, mica based plastic tapes, okay, quartz fiber, mica mixed with a synthetic resins such as a epoxy resin used in electrical machines. Okay, so whenever this kind of things, when the composite insulation system type of materials that will be normally used in electrical machines, okay, the electrical machines which will be used in a plant, okay, obviously in the power plant, okay, oil, or we can say that oil or the workspace compound. The oil and the workspace compound is actually nothing but a inorganic materials that will be also been used for the higher composition insulating system. Okay, so for the production of the composite insulating system, we will use both the organic and the inorganic materials. Okay, so the organic and the examples of the organic and the inorganic materials for the production of a composite insulating system. Okay, so what are the materials? Materials are the fiberglass reinforcement plastics, mica based plastic tapes, quartz fiber, and the mica mixed with a synthetic resin, etc., etc. And inorganic is a oil and the wax-based compound imprisoned insulating system with a paper and the polymer tapes are commonly applied in the power cables. Okay, so this inorganic type of materials is normally used for the insulation purpose of a power cables, capacitors, transformers. Okay, and the insulation for the electrical machines, we will normally use the organic materials. Okay, and if it will be the combination of a organic and the inorganic materials which will prepare a system which will be called as a composite insulating system. Okay, so this composite insulating system, it can be used in an electrical machine, it can be used in a power cable, it can be used in a transformer, it can be used in a bushings, it can be used in a power cables, right? So each and every electrical devices we can implement the composite insulating system, right? So the composite insulating system is actually nothing but a one type of system where we can implementing both the composition material, like organic and the inorganic materials. Okay, so suppose, and we can say it will be only be possible to create the insulating system having a better thermal, mechanical, and the electrical properties. So keep remind this things always. Whenever you have to develop any such kind of composite insulating system, you need to check whether this particular insulating system having a better thermal properties, having a better mechanical property, and having a better electrical properties or not, right? So all those parameters you need to check whether whenever you have to produce the composite insulating system. Okay, so composite insulating system is nothing but a system where the all those parameter or all those property will be there. So the composite insulation system, I told you, the composite insulation system is nothing but a system where all those three properties will be there. One is a thermal property, okay, then mechanical property, and the third one is your electrical property. So all those three property will be there in the composite insulation system. Okay, so these three property will be exist only when if we are using both the organic and the inorganic component material compound, okay, inside the composite insulation system for the very good compatibility, okay, for the very good compatibility and for giving a very good mechanical support to a particular system. Not only the mechanical support, but also the thermal and the electrical support that is also be needed. Okay, that is also be needed for the better composite insulation system in a process plant or in a power plant. Right. So that is actually the composite insulation system. Okay, so in case of a nano composite dielectric system, nano composite means here till now this nano composite dielectric system is may not be used in the inside in the power plant because this is under the research based. because in the laboratory it will be till now it will be research that how this nano composite dielectric system that will implementing inside the power plant or inside the process, that will also under the research condition. So there will have some, so we can only say that the nano composite insulating material that will currently under the investigation, we can say. Okay, so here there will have some nano composite system that will be under the investigation. So the base polymer and the nanomaterial, so the two combination of the polymers and the nanomaterials, it will be the combination of a nano composite dielectric. So the nano composite dielectrics, it will be nothing but a composition of two things. One is your base polymer plus my the nanomaterial which we are using for production of a nano composite dielectric. Although we cannot use this such kind of nano composite dielectrics in a high voltage engineering applications, because this particular dielectric system is under the research based. Okay, so if we will take it into consideration for the nano composite dielectric system, this will be currently under the investigation. Here it will be clearly written that the nano composite insulating materials that will currently under the investigation. Okay, so investigation depend upon the different base polymers. So the researcher will be taken into consideration for different polymers, base polymers, and they are taken into consideration for different nanomaterials, and they will combine this particular two composition, and they will developing a nano composite dielectrics. But it will be still in a research, under the research orientation. Okay, so we can say that suppose polyethylenes, okay, exopides, okay, elastomers, okay, ethylene, vinyl copamyl. So all those compounds, all those base polymers that will be acting on a particular nanomaterial. Suppose this particular material that will be acting of a clays. Okay, it may happen the researcher will be told that this particular polymers that it can use in the graphite, but whether it should be applicable in the graphite or not, that thing under the research part. Okay, so this thing is under still now in the research part. Okay, so we cannot use this such kind of system, okay, for the implementation of a any such kind of process. Okay, okay, so I think I have to stop, I have another class. Okay, so I have to stop the session for today. I will discuss some more thing in tomorrow, because tomorrow I have another class of a high voltage engineering. I am not taking the class tomorrow, sorry, yesterday. So that is why we have to compensate this yesterday's class in tomorrow same time. Whether it should be in 11:30 or 12:30, I will inform you in WhatsApp. Okay, so thank you. I will stop my session.
Okay, sir. Thank you.